All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bootcamp Blueprint, the place where personal trainers go to grow their bootcamp and social media. I'm super excited today because my guest is actually the go-to person when it comes to boxing or kickboxing in the fitness industry. A little bit about this person. He's got over 30 years in martial arts experience. He's an accredited boxing, kickboxing, and martial arts coach. He holds a black belt. He's a multiple times FILEX presenter. He's trained and coached hundreds, if not thousands of people in boxing, kickboxing, martial arts. He's trained or coached hundreds, if not thousands of personal trainers, how to use boxing, kickboxing, martial arts in their sessions. He runs the most accredited boxing courses in Australia. Registered Fitness Australia, Physical Activity Australia, FitRec, and ESSA, exercise physiologists, come to this man's courses to learn how to box with their clients. So anyways, without further ado, we've got the head of ACE, Australian Combat and Exercise, the one and only Mr. Hayes Daewood. Hayes, how are you?
I have never been introduced that way in my life.
Hayes,
and we just end it there because it's all going to go downhill from here.
Hey, I appreciate that, Hayes, but I just read exactly what you sent me, so don't pretend like.
Can't you? What? Oh, you've been online doing your research. I know. Go to page 6 on Google search, though. It's not a very good page.
Hayes, what I like to start off with all these interviews is a quote or mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for our listeners?
Well, yeah, I've got a couple on my desk. Can I read maybe one or two of them?
Yeah, give us your top two.
As a practicing martial artist for many years, one of my idols is Bruce Lee. He was one of the pioneers in freestyle martial arts and changing the way from traditional approaches, which I love doing. And he was a great philosopher. So, all right, so we'll read this one first. Before I learned the art, a punch was just a punch and a kick was just a kick. After I learned the art, a punch was no longer a punch, a kick no longer a kick. Now that I understand the art, a punch is just a punch and a kick is just a kick.
Wow. Interesting.
Thoughts?
I think it's, I love it. I like the circle side to it. If you're looking at it from you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's a punch. It's just a punch. It's just a kick. You learn a little bit about it. Wow, there's so much more to it. Then you've mastered it. Okay, now I've simplified it again.
Exactly right. And we can take that approach in life. And for me, it resonates a lot because whenever you go into something, you know, especially as a young guy, I know this. I used to walk into a martial arts school. When I started at Double Dragon Martial Arts in 1997, I know how to punch. I've done karate before. I know how to kick. I've seen it on TV. And then picked apart, then you realize, oh shit, I have no idea. This is so uncomfortable. Maybe I should stop. Or maybe I should just keep going and keep going. And then one day it just becomes the norm again. And it just flows off and you have to think about it and it's just a punch again. But you can take that approach with life. Anything that's new for us, anything we think we know, but we really don't. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned in the fitness industry as well. So
yeah, I do like it. And I like it as well because it sums you up very well, Hayes. That's the way I see your teaching as well. So I'm no surprise that you've got that on your wall there. Have you got another one for us?
Yeah, another Bruce Lee one. This is pretty intense, but I like it. If you always put limits on what you can do, physical or anything else, it'll spread into the rest of your life. It'll spread into your work, into your morality, into your entire being. There are no limits. There are plateaus, but you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. If it kills you, it kills you. A man or woman must constantly exceed his or her level.
Love it. Love it. All right. I'm a huge fan of that one as well. I'm a big fan of the always moving forward. All right. That's why I'm in the education business. That's how we've met. I've been to some of your education courses there. I believe if you're comfortable or you're in a standstill, you just don't move anywhere. You don't go ahead in life, and it might be comfortable at the start, but give it a few years down the track and then you're behind and you're like, wow, why am I behind? Like I wasn't here a couple of years ago. But the people that never find themselves in the situation are the people that just keep pushing forward. And I'm a huge fan of being uncomfortable, right? Like if I'm Sorry, go.
And we see it a lot in education. A lot of new trainers, they come in very uncomfortable and nervous. How do I take that next step? So I've learned this stuff. Do I have what it takes? Of course you do. And a lot of people are afraid of the failure or what people think. Fuck it. Just have a crack. What's the worst that can happen? You're not going to die by running a bad boxing session.
Yeah.
You're just going to learn from there or whatever it is. So it's a great lesson, and we got to remind ourselves sometimes. It's not that bad. Just have a crack.
Yeah, and that's I love that so much. I could go probably a whole podcast on that podcast.
Next podcast.
Yeah, true. But hey, what I'd like to go into from here, Hayes, is a little bit about what you do at ACE there. Like, I'm a little confused. Do you run just courses for the general public, or do you just run courses for personal trainers? What's the rundown there?
Yeah, it gets a bit confusing with the what I do. My dad still thinks I work in IT. And I'm a PT on the side, but I'll take that. But no, I run two businesses, and they link in a way. Australian Combat and Exercise, ACE or ACNE. It's a sports science and education business. We run seminars, courses, high performance services. We do research, all on fitness, health, exercise, strength, nutrition. And it all started running boxing courses, but we'll go to that later. But basically, the goal is to educate not only fitness professionals, but the general public on evidence-based practice, on the latest research when it comes to fitness and health. I work with a great team. I've got some of Australia's best sports scientists and health and wellness speakers. I love listening to them. I've got no qualifications like these guys, but it's just infectious. Listen to them speak, even the same stuff I hear over and over again. So we're trying to get the message of health and fitness out in a nice and easy way to understand. Science communicators. As far as the fitness industry, running the courses, we've got two boxing courses, boxing skills and fitness with the sports science of boxing. And the level 2 program is HIIT boxing and kickboxing for fitness with metabolic conditioning. Also, a newly accredited program called technical lifting with the science of strength training. And that's first one's in Sydney on the 24th. Seminars, nutrition for body composition and performance. Be your best, sleep better, stress less. It's a sleep and stress seminar. Training the masters athlete. It's another seminar. So that's where we're at the moment. And high performance testing, which is wonderful. So for a professional athlete or the weekend warrior, Dr. Luke will basically run a number of tests, VO2 max testing, metabolism testing, strength testing, power testing, using all the fancy equipment and his brain. You get some data about yourself, and then we can put together a training program, an exercise prescription, strength and conditioning, nutrition program based on what you're going to do, whether it's an event, whether it's to lose weight, to perform better, or just for fun. So yeah, that's one of our. A lot of people don't know we do that stuff, so it's great. So, and the research component is very exciting. Luke spends a lot of time doing research with our team. A lot of it's mainly on combat athletes, but we're going to expand that further.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I really love about your courses, Hayes. So if you're listening to this, I've done a lot of Hayes'. I've done his boxing course. I see him at FILEX all the time. And one thing I really like about Hayes' courses is the evidence-based practice. You don't just go in there and Hayes says, hey, throw 100 uppercuts and do some burpees and there's your session. It's like, hey, here are some of the scientific benefits of boxing. Here are some of the specific protocols that are used in boxing. Could you run us through a few of those, Hayes? What are some of the scientific benefits? Let's start with the boxing, because I know you're a boxing or a kickboxing or a martial arts person. What are some of the health benefits of that sort of thing that are proven by research?
Well, firstly, energy expenditure. You can burn 600 to 700 calories in a boxing session, which would take you an hour to do 9 kilometers per hour on a treadmill. Now, what would you rather do? Learn some skills, hit some pads, burn. I've had clients burn nearly 1,000 calories in those sessions. Now, if I had to put a poll out there, would you rather do some boxing or run on the treadmill at 9 Ks an hour for an hour? Which one would you pick? Hey, so you're getting bang for your buck.
You couldn't pay me to run on a treadmill for an hour, all right? But I would pay you to teach me to box for an hour. So that's the different levels in fun there, right?
Absolutely. And you're learning a skill. That's one thing most people underestimate. Learning a skill is part of physical fitness, coordination. Boxing and kickboxing is a form of self-defense. You don't need to be a black belt to understand the basics. And I probably upset a lot of people in the martial arts world, but no, it is. Boxing and kickboxing, martial arts are tools originally for warfare. Let's get serious. What were we teaching people to punch for back in the day, or to this day still in competitive sports? Tools for warfare. There's nothing wrong with stating, if taught correctly, this punch can be used for self-defense, if taught correctly. And we're not encouraging people to go there now and start punching people, but that's the background. Understand why they exist. As far as boxing itself is 70 to 80% anaerobic. It's a very explosive sport. Now, you can check it out, guys. Look at the research between anaerobic versus aerobic exercise. Anaerobic training increases power and strength. Aerobic doesn't. Anaerobic training increases your metabolic rate. Aerobic doesn't. Builds muscle. Aerobic doesn't. So when I say bang for your buck, you really are. If you look at the body of a boxer, some of these boxers, unfortunately, would love them to, don't do weights, but it looks like they do. It's the nature of the sport, and what a wonderful modality for the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, it's not being utilized correctly.
I agree 100%. Let's expand on that, Hayes. And I think we can go a few stories in here, right? So where I'd like to go is run me through how these boxing courses started. So you were in IT, I understand, and then you started running some boxing stuff on the side, and then run us through what happened from there.
Yeah, so look, and my other business is teaching martial arts and boxing also full-time. Ace Martial Arts, we're in Rockdale in Sydney. And I was teaching martial arts at a young age, boxing, kickboxing. And when I was in the corporate world, I started immediately, when I could, use my corporate contacts at work at lunch and teach boxing and kickboxing. And initially, I was being ultra technical with these guys or these girls. Like my instructor, my sifu, my sensei, don't do this, don't do this. And I got feedback right away from some of these guys. Can we just hit the pads? We want to work out. And then that's where I started tweaking and evolving and saying, okay, how can I make this safe, technical, and then give them an amazing workout? And that took years of practice. And I was a young guy teaching, but it's trial and error, of course. So the corporate world did really well, and then I got retrenched in 2010, and I decided to follow my dream and to teach martial arts full-time. And no one was happy with that decision, especially with an ethnic father saying, just go back into IT, it's much better for you. What's this karate business? I don't do karate, Dad, but it's okay, that's fine. And then I decided to follow my dream and teach boxing and kickboxing for fitness to the corporate world using my corporate contacts. And I set up Ace Martial Arts. I started doing private training, mainly to corporates and corporate group sessions. Now, I'll never forget the first corporate group session I ran was at Sydney Observatory Park, just by the Harbour Bridge there. A beautiful spot, very popular for trainers to run outdoor group sessions. And that's where I saw, for the first time, boxing for fitness in the fitness industry. While I had everyone in my insurance group in their stance, working on trunk rotation to warm them up, around me, I just saw mats. I freaked out, Jono. I said, what are they doing? Is this really meant to be boxing for fitness? All I saw was limbs being thrashed everywhere. I couldn't work out who was pad holding or punching, excessive running, and lots of push-ups. Not just one group, lots of groups. People were even punching trees.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to kill it because look what I'm doing. But I sat back and laughed, and I did the typical martial arts thing. I said, oh, they're all shit, and let me just do what I do and keep going. And I went and ran another group session at a company called Salmat. And at Salmat, my friend and colleague now, Dr. Luke Del Vecchio, was running the corporate health center there. I ran the group session, and he said, mate, that was one of the best kickboxing fitness sessions I have ever seen. And he was in the industry already for 15 years. I said, thanks, Luke, I appreciate it. He said, no, there's something in this. I said, what's in it? I'll come back and do it again. And I said, well, it's much better than what's out at Sydney Observatory Park. And Luke said, look, unfortunately, that's the way it's gone in the fitness industry, boxing fitness. It's a bit lost, but why don't we do something about it? And in that conversation, it changed my direction in business forever. I learned there that Dr. Luke at the time was one of 6 accredited sports scientists in Australia with ESSA. I had no idea. I thought Luke was just a PT. And then we just started brainstorming, and he said we should run a boxing course, and I agreed. And I went away and I created this program. It took us 7 months, and Luke added the evidence-based approach. We used I learned so much as well with that program because, look, from the martial arts, we try and be sciencey and understand research, but we don't. So it was a learning curve for me. And I questioned Luke a lot. And so 7 months to build the program, submitted the program and got approved by Fitness Australia, which was wonderful, for 6 CSCs. I was really excited about that. And then we ran our first pilot course in 2012 for Vision Personal Training. I'm very grateful to a gentleman named Paul Jabor from Vision Double Bay, who got me into Vision to run the first program, and the team, Andrew Simmons and wonderful team. We ran our pilot program, and then everything changed from there. We ran the program. We had 12 trainers. Some of them had experience in boxing, and they completely freaked out. And they said, well, this is amazing. This is the best thing we've ever done. And that's where I got excited. And we ran it again and again and again. And I started tweaking the program, improving the program. 1 year later, we got re-accredited again from 6 to 8 points. And then we went for ESSA accreditation, which is one of my highlights. So the Exercise Sports Science Body recognised our program based on the evidence-based practice. And yeah, it's not just our opinion. We're sharing some good stuff. And we really encourage trainers to take that approach. Not only our program, look at the research, the evidence. Be careful not to just to listen to people's opinions. Because what's that backed by? Oh, I did it myself. That's not enough all the time. And we've gone from there and expanded our programs from kickboxing now into the lifting space, and a few more things coming, a few more face-to-face programs. So the program's been going wonderful. The feedback's been exceptional. Thank you to people like yourself for really spreading the word. And another highlight was being invited to present at FILEX and meet you guys. And the feedback's been great. And I don't feel like I work. It's been a wonderful industry, and the fitness industry has been very receptive for this guy that used to work in finance and IT, martial artists. And we're trying to just encourage people to learn and keep educating themselves. And we've had world champion kickboxers do our program and learn. It's very sad when I hear trainers say, oh, I've done all my tickets already. I don't need to do a boxing course. That saddens me because we don't want to do that. I'm just doing it for the points. No, it shouldn't be just about the points. Learn, learn, learn. And look, I'm learning. I still go see my trainer. I go to Lakemba once a week and train with one of the best boxing schools in the world. And I love it. I'm like a little boy learning martial arts or boxing again. And as soon as I get something cool, guess what I do? I add it to my curriculum at Ace Martial Arts, and I add it to our program.
Yeah, love it, love it. So much gold in there, Hayes. I agree with. I'll break this down to the listeners a bit. So I think I did your course, Hayes, maybe last year. Right, I've been in the same thing. I'm a registered exercise physiologist. I've been in the industry since 2008. I've done multiple boxing courses. I've trained with a boxing trainer. I trained for about a year. I wanted to have a bout. I still came and did Hayes' course and learned from it. And what I like about Hayes' course or Australian Combat and Exercises course is there's a few different components to it, but just the research side of it. So it's like, hey guys, boxing and kickboxing can help with resistance training. Here's the study. Hey, boxing and kickboxing can help with aerobic. Here's the study. Hey, boxing and kickboxing can help with coordination. Hey, here's the study. Hey, these are some specific protocols that have been scientifically tested. Here's the Tabata. Watch how you can do it with boxing. Here's the trap. Watch how you can do it with boxing. Everything is so...
The trap.
The trap, yeah. I use it all the time. And also with Hayes' background of over 30 years in martial arts, you know that every punch, every kick is super technical there. And what Australian Combat and Exercises have done have really plugged a gap. Because what I saw when I started in the fitness industry was a lot of this. You'd get a lot of people, they'd finish their certificate 3 and 4 in fitness, and they'd all of a sudden think they're a boxing coach, right? I've done my cert 3 and 4 in fitness. I'm going to get a pair of focus mitts, and I'm now a boxing coach. I'm going to teach all my clients how to box. And the down point with that is it went down the line, because then a new trainer would do that trainer's boxing class, and learn from that boxing trainer that hasn't learned from anyone before, and they think they know what they're doing. And then a new trainer would come in and be like, oh yeah, I've participated in that trainer's boxing class for a year. I know what I'm doing. I'll start doing it. And it was just a slippery slide that just got, just someone would do the class and didn't know what they were doing. And then the next trainer would learn from that trainer, and so forth, so forth. So I think you've done a really good job there of plugging that gap. And I just want to delve a little bit into a couple of the things you said there as well, Hayes, in terms of the outdoor side of things. Like, I believe that every trainer should have boxing and kickboxing qualifications, especially if you're in that outdoor space, because it's one of the most convenient ways to do it, right? If you're an outdoor trainer, say you're running a boot camp. My background's in boot camp. I'd get 20, 30, 40 people down to a session. I'm not going to bring 20, 30, 40 kettlebells down to training. I'm not going to bring 20, 30, 40 medicine balls down to training. But my participants can bring their own gloves, and I can bring a few shields and a few pads, and off we go. So that's my sort of recommendation to anyone that's sitting on the fence. If you're going to do any outdoor stuff, I strongly recommend doing boxing as one of them, but getting trained first. And I was hoping you could touch on that a little bit, Hayes. What are some of the things you see that you would see in that park there, or wherever you've seen, where you're like, wow, this is just straight up dangerous. This person needs to do a course, or even maybe some injuries that you've seen that people have just had from not kicking or boxing properly. Have you seen any of those, or what are some things you could mention to us there?
100% agree with you with the ease of using boxing as a modality outdoors. Look, I trained a person to have their first fight outdoors. A lovely lady named Kim. I was training her at Zetland initially, and she trained to fight in the ring professionally. For her first fight, all I had was my focus pads. She had her wraps on, her gloves, and I had my shield and my knowledge. And so you can do anything outdoors. You don't need a fancy ring. As much as I'd love a fancy ring, all the boxing bags, wraps, gloves, focus pads, shield, you're done. And a brain and a bit of planning. That's all. Now, as far as what's happening out there and things I see, well, there's lots. And unfortunately, it seems like the majority. And that's why we're here to make a change. And not only me and my team, but the trainers that have done our program, I really hope they're out there changing the way. Now, what I said earlier is about slapping the pads. Slapping the pads, picking up the focus pad all the way back, coming down and hitting the person's glove. Now, just think about that logically in the laws of physics. Force meets force. What's going to happen to the poor person's fist, elbow joint, or shoulder joint? It's not going to go too good. So shoulder injuries, elbow injuries, wrist injuries are quite common. We've got a lot of data to back that up, especially for pad holders and PTs that are holding pads for their trainers, holding the pads really wide and having force. You know how unstable the shoulder joint is when you hold it nice and wide. You know, if you raise your shoulder and put it out, and imagine someone punching it. Look, the way the shoulder, it's not going to work very well.
It hurts me with no resistance, Hayes. If I just put it there and I just move it slightly, I can feel a bit of a stretch there. Imagine someone big, strong punching it. See you later. Bye. My rotator cuff's gone.
Absolutely. And you can take that same approach with the shoulder with a lot of exercise, including bench press, nice and wide people go, overload of weight. Bodybuilders have high injuries in their shoulders. So it's not just boxing, but we just, unfortunately, and what I've seen is people, it's just boxercise, just hit the pads. It's not about that. Boxing is known as the sweet science. Why water it down that much? You don't need to. So the slapping of the pads needs to stop. The wide position of stance. My tip to everyone, if you're listening, can I have your attention, please? Here's the tip. When you hold the pads, stand in your boxing stance, if you've been taught. Think of holding the human head. Not in front of your face, in a position, and add resistance using a slight move of your elbow and your body, and you catch. Now, that is the safest way to hold pads. And people say, but isn't it close to your face if you're holding the human head? Well, no, that's why you teach your technique first. You teach your clients the basics of technique before they punch anything. And that takes a few minutes. You remember in our course, we do the intro, we teach people how to rotate their body. So the arm punching, You look out, most people, all they see in boxing is limbs moving. Punching power comes from the ground up. The combined movements of the foot, knee, hip extension, trunk rotation, arm extension. That's how you throw a punch. All we're seeing is the arm being extended and returned. No movement anywhere in the body. Now, that's a lot of load and pressure on the arms and shoulders. That's not good for your joints. And you're going to get fatigue immediately on your arms. People think that's a good thing. Let's gas the arms out. No, 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 no. Boxing, punching is from the ground up. You want to feel it in from your calves all the way up. And I love when people come and train and are taught correctly and they say, wow, I really felt it in my back the next day and my abs the next day and my shoulders and my calf muscle. Well, that's a good story. You don't want to have a sore shoulder the next day. So teaching the basic trunk rotation, and that improves the workout. Not only are you learning skill, you're improving the workout. You're activating all those muscles. Now, what happens to the body? What are the physiological responses to the body when you activate those muscles? It's a beautiful thing. More calories, increased workout. You learn how to punch harder, which is great for self-defense. And you're doing it right. You don't do it half-assed. If you really want to stand out, really all we've done is gone back to basics. And I'm no rocket scientist. We've gone back to basics with technique. We've backed it up with science.
Love it. And I love a few things there. I think they're the two, because they're definitely the two biggest things I see as well, right? People that just don't know how to hold the pads, which is a good point, because it's not just the boxing, it's the pad holding as well if you're using focus pads. So you've got to know both of those and then just the arm punches. So I think they're two things there. And I like the way you broke it down as well with saying boxing is a sweet science, because yeah, it's a science or it's a sport or it's a skill. Like I guess another example would be like a rugby tackle, right? Let's say you finished your Cert 3 and 4, but you've never played rugby in your life. You're not going to go and teach someone how to rugby tackle because you're a personal trainer, right? Same sort of thing with boxing. If you've never thrown a punch before, you've never done any martial arts, you've never done a course, I probably wouldn't recommend doing the punching. And then even just another thing I just thought of the top of my head there as well, if you're, say, watching this and you haven't done a course, is even just the insurance side of things. Like if you're a personal trainer and you're doing some boxing, but you haven't done a course or you don't have a background in martial arts, your insurance probably isn't going to cover you. So I'd recommend that thing there. Now, what I'd like to go through from here, Hayes, so let's say now someone's done a course. Someone's just started in the industry. They've done a course, but they're a little bit scared. And they're like, oh, look, I've done a course, but I haven't done it with a session yet, or I haven't run a class yet. What are some basic tips you could give that they could keep it simple but still get an effective workout, but keep it safe as well? Have you got any things there that they should think about, maybe before they even see that client or when they're planning? What would you say there?
Well, a lot of trainers that have done our program, they finish the day excited but very nervous about that next step. And I've said to a few of them, the first thing, and I've probably said it in my course before, what you need to do before is plan your first session and practice with a group of friends. Now that takes a bit of pressure off. Plan your first session, plan, practice, plan, then apply. So plan your session based on the course learnings. And the course should give you some structure. Warm-up duration, skills and technique, the conditioning component, the cool down. There should be a structure that you should receive, and then you can plug and play. Put something down, grab one friend, two friends, it doesn't matter. I'm running, look, everyone's on Facebook, put it out there, free boxing session with a few friends, or make a few phone calls, get it out of your system. Now ask for feedback after that session, ask for feedback out of that session, and then plan your formal session again based on the feedback, and run your first session. Advertise and run your first session. And even with that, it doesn't stop. Ask for feedback. How was it? Any feedback, guys? You've done a boxing program before? Okay. And recently we had a wonderful lady do our program, and she came and saw me for some extra programming. And I said, look, I just opened up the course manual. Here it is. Plug and play. Go run the session. And she emailed me the other day. She's done about 10 now, and she's loving it. The feedback's exceptional. But every session, she improved. You're not going to get your certificate in boxing for fitness and be a guru. Just chip away at it slowly. Keep it simple. Don't go crazy with long combinations. Keep it simple. And show authority. You're the coach. Do not let the clients dictate the session. And a lot of young trainers struggle with that. They come into a group, they're employed by a gym, and no, we hold pads like this. That's what the other trainer said. Look, that is a challenge, but you need to show authority, because if something does happen or someone does get injured in that session, who do you think is going to be to blame? So the last trainer? No. It's your duty of care to make sure you're running a safe session. And people are always like, oh, we live in the life. It's not going to happen to me. What are the chances of being injured? Well, guess what? People are getting injured. People are.
And you've seen the stats, right, Hayes? You study those stats, right?
Yes, we're working with Dr. Luke and Dr. Batul from CQU. They're collecting some confronting data about injuries in boxing and boxing for fitness. And hopefully we'll share those soon. Look, we are trying to make it confronting. So we want people to just learn the basics and keep it safe. Stop taking the risk. Be careful. You don't want to deadlift incorrectly, even though a lot of people are. A lot of people are a lot more worried about weight training and risk as opposed to boxing. When you injure someone's hand or shoulder, where do you think those clients are going to go? Just teach a bit of technique. If you've got 1 hour, you've got 20 minutes. Your warm-up can comprise of technical work. There is always time for technique. And I proved to everyone in our boxing program, I had 7 minutes. 7 minutes and no one could get off the floor. So that's 15 minutes in total I dedicated to fitness. 15 minutes. And if you look at the research on interval training, boxing is a form of interval training. You work on at high intensity, explosive, you pull back with an active recovery. All the research shows now the fastest way to get fit is to use interval training protocols. You'll still get fit doing endurance, but it just takes a bit longer.
Yeah.
And the benefits of the anaerobic training that I said earlier at boxing. So there is time. Interval training is shorter. You don't need to do it for an hour. 10 minutes. 10 minutes, and if it's done correctly, it's wow, it's an amazing session. Then you add new tools to it, like kicking, and you've got a different beast altogether.
Love it. I want to throw a few little things at you here, Hayes, and if I can get your opinion on it. All right. The first one is wraps. Do you think, if it's a cardio boxing side of things, do you think trainers should encourage their clients should use wraps, or is it not really worth it? What's your opinion?
So when you throw a punch, we've got sports science devices. An untrained person can throw a punch and generate 10,000 watts of energy, of power, on that pad. And that force comes back at you. Now look at the hand. Look at all the little bones and ligaments in your hand. If we don't protect that hand when that force is coming back, what do you think is going to happen eventually? Something's going to give way. Wraps in boxing and kickboxing are an unspoken rule. You go into any boxing school or kickboxing schools, you have to wear wraps. And the sad thing is, in the fitness industry, people are more concerned about odor and wearing those white little Michael Jackson gloves, those inners. You can just wash your hand after it. Wearing wraps will protect your wrist and hand a great deal, and it should be compulsory for any session. The excuse that it takes too long to put on is poor. It's bullshit, because someone doing it slow will take them 5 minutes. Now, is that too long for safety? So wraps, and if anyone should be protecting their hands more, it should be the boxing for fitness people who aren't probably punching as good as the boxers. But yet they're more paranoid. The boxers are more paranoid about hand injuries, almost too paranoid. They wrap, they tape, they've got the gloves with the rope on because of the force being produced. So even untrained people can produce lots of force, especially with a poor pad holder. Pad meeting glove can cause injury. So wraps, they look better as well. They're great for hygiene. You wash them. Absolutely supports all the ligaments in the fist and supports that wrist nicely. So wear your wraps starting today. Now you know there is no excuses.
Love it. So to summarize that, yes. Is that right, Hayes?
Did I say yes? Yes.
And I believe you don't let someone box in your gym unless they have them, right?
No way. Look, I've also got a backup pair. So if someone comes in for a trial or one session and they don't have, and they don't want to buy, so if people sign up as a member here, they get a pair of wraps, right? If they don't have a pair, they get a pair of wraps. Private training, I give them a pair of wraps. It's $10 for me. I'm fine with that. Running classes, when they come in, if they don't have and they don't want to buy, I've got a backup pair of quick wraps with a long rope, with a long wrap, where I wrap their hand. It's safe and secure. So no one trains without wraps, ever.
Love it. And I love how you brought the price, because for $10 to potentially save a serious injury is an absolute steal. Whether the clients get...
They last.
Yeah, well, exactly. They last. And like, as you said, you can keep a spare pair there, or it's not a bad gift for a client. If you're running a boot camp and you're charging $50 a week, what's $10 for a pair of wraps, right? I used to give a skipping rope as a gift, because I like to give something. You know, okay, these people are paying me, want to give them something back. I would give them a skipping rope, but skipping rope, yeah, it's okay. You can do a bit of cardio at home. But wraps, which is the same price and can prevent a serious injury, it's a no-brainer. So I like that wraps there. What about...
And you can get them cheaper online. Look, $10 is probably the most expensive you'll pay, and that's still nothing.
Yeah. All right. What about, Hayes, boxing gloves? Do you go and get a cheap pair from Kmart? Do you go and get a big 16-ounce pair for multiple hundreds of dollars? What's your recommendation for a boxing for fitness class?
Look, you don't need to go crazy. Look, my pair of gloves that I wear are $420. They're called Winning. I have to talk about those. I'm very proud of those Winning gloves. They're handmade in Japan. All the pros wear them. That's an overkill. So don't go buy $400 gloves. You can buy gloves for $50, $60 that are very safe. Now, there's two types of gloves you see in the market. There's the bag mitt, where the thumb is free, as in it's not locked in, and the boxing glove. The glove is locked into the glove. I love the bag mitt. But what happens is if not coached correctly, people can stick their thumb in between and form a fist over their thumb. And when that happens and they throw a strike, they can hurt their thumb. So the boxing glove is the easiest option. What we recommend generally is people wear between 8 and 12 ounce boxing gloves. 8 ounce would be for the really small people, and 10 to 12, male or female, depending on their size, works well. Some smaller people have really long fingers and they can't put their hand in an 8 ounce glove. So 10 to 12 is generally the stuff that we supply people with. And they're a great size. They're not too heavy. The issue with the 16 ounce gloves, and a lot of people do buy the 16 ounce gloves, they think big protection, but they were designed for sparring. Now, sparring is contact work. In boxing for fitness, it's complete overkill. There's going to be no sparring whatsoever. And what it does, it adds unnecessary weight to their arm, especially smaller people or inexperienced people. You want to teach technique. If they're wearing heavy gloves and they're unfit or untrained, what do you think is going to happen eventually when they're trying to throw their punch? Their arms are going to gas. When they fatigue and they build that lactate up in their arms and their shoulders, it's going to impact their technique. Once their technique is impacted, that's going to impact or increase the risk of an injury happening. So the big gloves are for sparring. Experienced people can wear 16 ounce gloves. There'll be no problem. But for hitting pads or shield work, 10 to 12 ounce gloves, 8 to 12 is the range.
Perfect. And
no need for leather. Leather options are about $80 to $100. The new synthetic materials are pretty good. So if you want something cost effective, and we've got to watch our expenses, don't we, these days? $50 to $60, you can buy a good pair of gloves.
Awesome. And I'll just quickly summarize that. Hey, say if you're watching listening to this, Hayes was mentioning different numbers there. So boxing gloves are based on weight, right? 12 ounce, 8 ounce, 10 ounce. The higher, the heavier they are. And if you get a glove which is measured by ounces, they usually range from those different sizes. And what Hayes is saying is look out for the 8 to 12 size. All right. One more question, Hayes, then we'll finish it up. What about focus mitts versus shields? What's your...
Look, I love both tools. The focus pads are fantastic. Focus mitts are fantastic for coordination, reaction work. Lots of drills behind that. You would have done a few at the course at FILEX. I definitely think there's a place for focus pads, especially for PTs doing one-on-one sessions. People love hitting the focus pads. I really enjoy hitting the focus pads. It's a skill. Look, focus pads are designed for coaches to work strategy and technique and imitate the techniques they're going to use in the ring. They were never designed for conditioning and fitness. And a lot of people are shocked by that. But they are a great tool, and we don't need to throw them away. However, if you want bang for your buck and you want to have a cracking workout, nothing beats the boxing bag. But, Jono, you're not going to walk around and tie boxing bags to trees out there in the park, are you?
No.
But what's the other alternative? The wonderful boxing shield. You can put a few in your car or your ute, and they come in foam or they're wool-based. You hold them, and the effects are significant. And we've tested this. We got one of the experienced guys to go all-out effort on the focus pads for 2 minutes. His heart rate peaked at 165 after 2 minutes. Then the next day we did the experiment again on the shield. It took 35 or 45 seconds for his heart rate to reach the previous peak of 167, and it ended up peaking after 2 minutes at 180.
Wow.
Significant difference. Now, any fighter you speak to, professional boxer you speak to, what's the one thing they despise the most is bag work. On the bag, you hit that bag. It's the closest effect to that is a shield. Now, we're trying to bring the shield back because the focus pad is ruling boxing for fitness, and I understand why. It's easy to put in your car in a bag, but I'd like people to add the extra tool, the shield. And for interval training, nothing beats that. You cannot get the same effect. You felt it, Jono, you made the transition.
I did.
You were using
yeah. And part of the reason I'll just delve into why I like and why I find it so effective for cardio. The thing with focus mitts is there's a lot more coordination involved, which has its advantage, obviously. But if you want to go flat out cardio, you can just hold that bag there and the person thinks a little bit less and can just unload, which makes it a mean cardio tool.
You don't need to be an expert pad holder to hold focus pads. And a lot of people get stressed. They do our course. They go there and their clients aren't holding pads properly. You can remove all that away by getting them to hold the shield safely. And you do lots. You can do everything.
Yeah, agree. Well, Hayes, we got to sort of finish up soon. Before we did, I just had one more question I wanted to ask you. Now, you're obviously a guru in the fitness industry and in the martial arts world. And if any personal trainer wants to know about boxing, kickboxing, martial arts or fitness, they come to you. Who do you go to, Hayes? Who's your sources of inspiration, or do you still educate yourself? Are there people or seminars you go to?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as fitness and health, I look at my friend Dr. Luke Del Vecchio, James Longhurst, Ziad Zachariah, all part of the ACE team. I idolize them just as much as we work. They're all friends of ours. I love them dearly, and I learn a lot from them. And we're a great team. As far as international people, I like to follow Dr. Brad Schoenfeld on Facebook, Alan Aragon. These are all people I really enjoy their research and their data. In the martial arts world, I still speak to my old instructor, Mick Spinks from Sutherland, who's the reason I started martial arts. One of the reasons I started martial arts, and he gave me an opportunity to start coaching at a very young age. I was, 14 or 15. I was teaching a class of adults. So I'm always in dialogue with him. But me training still, I am. I'm 36. I know I look 50, 36 years old. And I still train. I still spar my clients. I still getting down and dirty with them. Once a week, I dedicate an hour. It takes about 3 hours. I drive to Body Punch Boxing Gym, and I train with a friend of mine who's a former world #1 who fought on, I think, the same card as Mike Tyson. He's an Australian Olympian, Hassi Hussein.
Okay.
Wonderful boxer, a master in boxing, and I get my training there weekly, and I learn a lot. And I like to part, and I'm not ashamed to say that. You've got to keep learning. And I've come into my classes and said to the guys, we're going to change this. There's a better way. It doesn't mean you get your black belt and you stop. One of the mottos of Australian Combat and Exercise is our education never stops. So mine can't stop.
Love it. All right, hey, so if anyone's listening to this and they want to go through further, I follow you a lot on social media. I'll just run through where I follow you. I'll make sure I've got all these right. The website is acexercise.com. Is it right?
Correct. acexercise.com.
Perfect. You're on Facebook, 2 different pages. You've got the facebook.com/acexercise.
So that's our sports science and education business. You'll find our courses.
Perfect. And then you've got the facebook.com/AC Ace Martial Arts.
So if you want to see some cool stuff, see us punching and kicking, training with some of the guys and girls here. We're in a studio in Rockdale. It's very entertaining. You might get some tips out of it. You can jump on there too.
Perfect. Well, if you're listening to this, I would go for both. Go to the facebook.com/AC Exercise to see the courses and what Hayes and his team is doing. And also jump on the facebook.com/Ace Martial Arts just to see some drills and what they do, to see if the course is something you want to do. What's your opinion, Hayes? If someone wants to follow you, where should they go from here? Where's the best place to follow you?
Our Facebook page is the best. We regularly upload our courses on there. And and you can communicate with me direct. The number, the 1300 number, guess who answers that?
Your cell phone,
so
is it?
Yeah, it's right here. I like to talk to everyone. I'm not an email person, but give me a call, send me a Facebook message. I'm accessible. Love to hear from you. Give me a call. Any questions about the courses, more than happy to assist.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's probably all we got time for today. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything I should have asked you but I didn't?
No, look, I really enjoyed this, John. Thank you, and I really appreciate the work you're doing for the industry, mate. I always get a smile when I see you pop up in one of the seminars I give. You're a great supporter, and you're doing some good things, and I really enjoyed spending the time with you today. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Hayes, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jono.